Hello and welcome to Women Thrive TV with your host, Raimonda Jan. I'm excited to have you here for another amazing show with some of our guests. So today we're talking about 5 keys to thrive to ADHD smart strategies to conquer procrastination and jump into action with my lovely guest today, Carole Podell. Hi, Carole. How are you?
Hi, Ray. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Excited about this conversation. One, because it's always fun and joy hanging out with you.
Samesies. Always samesies.
And I think we're going to deliver something really valuable here in today's conversation for our audience as well.
I sure hope so.
So where are you joining us from, first of all?
I am in New York City, where is my home, where I was born and raised, in the building I was born and raised in, actually.
Amazing. Well, Carole, why are we talking about this subject today? I know we're going to go in and I'll introduce you more officially, but why this topic is important to you?
You know what? I think that as I've gotten older and as I've worked with other clients and other friends and other women who are in this point in their life where they've taken care of all of these other people, whether that's your children or your spouse or your boss or the people you're managing, in any facet of your life, you start looking at other people, you start taking care of everybody else, and you start losing sight of who you are, and really just like getting out of the practice of focusing on what makes you happy. So you're kind of constantly in this state of people pleasing and perfectionism. And now that people are discovering that neurodiverse is such a spectrum, and so many more people are finding that they're within that spectrum, what the combination of the two is creating this feeling of procrastination, this stuckness, because they want to do something. Women, we want to move through a next chapter, a next season, a new career, a new relationship, doesn't matter. And we're sort of stuck and we can't get going. And I don't have procrastination as a character defect. I think it's a fear response to that overwhelm, to that people pleasing, to that perfectionism. And I want to just bust that open.
Yeah. So I want to just give our audience a quick introduction of who Carole is. Well, first of all, I got a joy and pleasure to work with Carole for a while as one of our speakers for the Women Thrive Summit. But beyond that, she is a life transition strategist. I know, what is that, you may ask? And she's also the host of podcast She Takes the Lead. She's also a fertility warrior and a very proud single mom by choice. And Carole helps ambitious working moms navigate major life transitions, showing them how to confidently write their next chapter with intention, joy, in a way that honors who they truly are. And today we're talking about smart strategies to conquer procrastination, jump into action, especially if you have ADHD or other neurodiverse needs. Carole, like I said, I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm excited to sort of crack open this mystified world of stuckness.
What is Transition Strategist?
It's a great question because it's a random title, is the truth. Life Transition Strategist is basically, we go through changes, we go through pivots that are natural and innate. Sometimes it happens out of a crisis. Sometimes it happens out of a spiritual awakening. And sometimes it just happens because life comes at you from out of left field, which is what I talk about in my podcast, She Takes the Lead, is what happens when life comes at you out of left field. And a life transition strategist is someone who actually helps you strategize those changes so that it's not just random. So you're not just throwing spaghetti up against the wall. So I mentor and I work with you on your circumstance, what you're wanting, where you are, and then helping you move through into that next piece so that you can actually do it consciously and intentionally. So you're actually leading your own life, not following your own life.
Yeah. I find it transitional moments in your life are so pivotal, and it could lead you in one of the many directions. And I remember when I was younger, I'd always feel at crossroads, like left or right. And these are two very big differences in the choices and two different outcomes, like sliding doors. And without like someone who could mentor you, support you, advise you with some life wisdom, it's kind of hard and it could make a big change in your life. So I think you're doing some really good work there.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I have besties that help me with this sometimes, but not everybody's got a bestie. Sometimes I'm a good bestie.
Yeah, definitely. After spending some time with you, I was like, Carole, you're a really good bestie. Like, you're someone that you just want to pick up the phone with and have that conversation. Hey, what would Carole say?
Yeah, thank you. I try to tell it like it is. I'm vintage enough to know, have gone through a few things. And I want us to win. I want everybody to win. I don't really think invested in the failures. I think everybody is better when we can win as much as possible.
Yeah, I love you saying I'm vintage like that. I love it. All right, well, let's dive into those key strategies. We got 5 things to cover today: how to conquer procrastination and jump into action. And these are strategies that Carole has used in her own life, applied in her own life, and is here to tell you her vintage wisdom.
Okay. Let me just start by starting. Yeah, so like I said, I am neurodiverse. I was dyslexic since I've known that for a long time. And then out of left field, as life tends to do, I found out last year that I'm also ADHD. And neurodiversity is not, I'm not a doctor. This is me literally just walking the walk. But neurodiversity, it shows up in different ways. And for me, what happens is I feel very scattered. And I don't know how much of that is neurodiversity, how much of that is perimenopause, or how much of that is that I'm a mom. I take care of my parents. I'm a member of the sandwich generation. I have a dog. I have a career. I have people, my friends, responsibilities, and I have a lot going on. And I have a lot of things I have a lot of responsibilities towards other people that I own, that I want to have, but everything suddenly feels fractured a lot. And I'm not a 5 a.m.er. Like the CEO 5 a.m. group. Like, I appreciate it. I have friends that are it. I have colleagues that are it. But often when somebody says, how do you get out of procrastination? Well, get up at 5 a.m. and you'll find out what you can do. And I've done that, and it's true, and I aspire to that. But while that's happening, I'm going to bring real life to this and try to figure out other ways to keep that going. And I had an experience. I was living my life the way I was supposed to be, air quote. I was married. I had a career that worked within the marriage, and we were trying to have kids, and I wasn't getting pregnant. And one day, the marriage was failing, is the truth, but he came to me and said, and I don't think I want children. And I was like, okay. And he said, okay, what? And I said, okay, you can go. And it wasn't like, oh, I am a woman, hear me roar. It was like, terrifying. But it clarified making a decision. And it stopped. It almost stopped in its tracks, this piece of procrastination, of not really fully doing what I wanted to do. And over time, I started making changes, and those changes created, now I understand, I reverse engineered, created these 5 strategies. So I have these 5 strategies so that so even if you get bored, even if you get overwhelmed, even if you are people pleasing or a perfectionist, you can move through them. It's a circle. So the 5 strategies, and I'll just go through them like overall first, is values, your tribe, your transferable skills, the decision, and relentless optimism. So these are my 5 keys to thriving, especially in neurodiversity, because So I'll start with values. And this is very high level. But we all have values that we align with. We all have things that we live by, whether we like it or not. For me, family is a very big value. Community is a very big value. It can be very inconvenient at times when I have to take care of everybody or when I've made commitments to contribute to my community and they're not actually convenient. But these values, this community commitment, it's bigger than me. And on the downside of that, it takes time away. But on the upside of that, I understand that when I'm making decisions, when I'm making commitment decisions, or really when I'm making decisions around what I want to do next, that's really critical for me to be able to not hit a wall and feel like I made a mistake, was to know that community is something that I need within whatever the next step is that I take. The tribe, and for me, tribe is an acronym. So it's transparent relationships, insiders and benchmarkers, and experts. And basically, and I'm not going to go into the depth of all of it, but your tribe are your people, obviously. But they're your people intentionally chosen. So I'm not talking about like being fake. I'm talking about actually intentionally creating authentic relationships with people who are supporting you in that next area that you want to get into. It's such an important thing. You need your tribe, you need your people to keep you honest.
Yeah.
They come in different ways. I mean, when I have one friend who, when I need a nap, I call her. And I have another friend that when I need to go on a walk and figure something out, I call her. And they're both equally valuable, but you need to make those relationships. You need to create those relationships. Relationships can just naturally come, but not in this day and age. You need to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
For me, yes.
A lot of times when we're trying to kind of move through life, it feels alone, isn't it? And having that support and also that accountability. When sometimes you tell a friend, hey, I'm going to do this.
Yes. Yes.
It keeps you accountable. So I love the tribe pod because I'm a bit like that. Like I like to have just few core people in my life that I can keep accountable to.
Yes. Yes. And when you're moving into a new place, you may not have those people in that place. You may not have people who are like-minded with this particular area. So it's important to create those cushions, create those blankets that you can surround yourself with, that you can wrap yourself in, of people who are on the same page with you, not just the relationships that you've made over time, but the new ones. Yeah, it's very important. And whether it's personal or professional.
Yep. Yeah.
In terms of the next strategy that I really think is important is, I call it transferable skills, but it's ultimately, it's the problems you solve. Like we have a feeling, like especially women who are taking care of so many other things, like that lose confidence very quickly. I know I have it. I mean, I know most people, like even we're in social media and you see everybody like it's their best day every day, but that's not life. And lose confidence when we're trying to make a change, when we're trying to transition into something new and feel like, well, I can't do that. Like who am I to do that? Or I don't know how to do it and therefore can't, because I don't have anything to bring into the table. But it's a shift. It's a reframe. Like reframing that is so important about like, what are the problems I solve? Because especially women, we problem solve all the time. I am problem solving, even when nobody wants me to solve the problem. I'm figuring out solutions in my head, right? I mean, I don't think I'm alone here either. So like understanding what those problems are, understanding consciously that you're solving those problems, and then seeing that next piece that you're doing and seeing where you might be able to solve the problems within structure offers confidence in yourself and your abilities, which is so critical when you're trying to do something new. It's scary doing something new. Anything, it's scary. The fourth one, which is my personal favorite in the ones, is, this is my quote, "A decision is not a decision until it's put into action."
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. It's, you know what? If you're thinking about it and you haven't done a step, you're not doing it. It's not a decision, and you will, and I hate to be a jerk about it, but you will never do it. If you're just thinking about it and think, it's never going to get done. It can't.
Yeah.
Unless you fall into something else, but then it's not what you did. It's what you fell into. I've been given awards. I was a television producer for many years. I've literally been given awards, but where I worked my ass, I kind of fell into it, and they weren't as satisfying. And that's kind of terrible and unappreciative to say, but it's the truth. Like, if it's not intentionally done, often it does not fill the hole that you're looking to fill. But if you're intentionally making a decision and then making a small step, you start feeling what you're feeling. It starts filling up all the little holes that are empty, that are making you want to have the change anyway. And now you got something. Now you're walking the walk.
Always
high heels or flats.
Yeah, I always say, like, you can't learn to drive if you're still in park mode.
Yes, right.
Like, get out there.
You can't. You can turn the steering wheel, you can step on it and hear it, but you don't know what that life experience is. And it's very unsatisfying, even if you're in the prettiest.
Yeah.
Even
before we got on, we talked about waiting for the perfect time, for the right moment, for the right thing to make that move, to take that decision. Since we're talking a bit about driving, I remember I booked my first driving lesson with my driving coach years ago, and it was snowing that morning in the UK, and nobody has winter tires or anything. I said, surely he's going to cancel it. Like, I don't have to go, so I can stay in bed. And he calls, he said, "I'm outside." I said, "You realize this is my first driving lesson and it's snowing outside?" He said, "Yeah, if you're going to learn to drive in the snow, you're going to be a good ass driver. So get out there."
Amazing. And by the way, that's why your tribe is important also. Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. If you're going to learn how to drive, snow is as much of a driving moment as anything. No, that's so good. That's so good. Like, that is what accountability is. That's why your tribe is there. That's why you have to know. That's why you have these strategies. To bring it back, like, that's why you have all of these strategies. That is why it's so important to take the action, even if you're scared. And then my final one, which is it's a strategy, but it's actually for me, and I encourage it. It's a practice. It's a meditative practice. It's a practice more than it is a strategy, like, practical. It's more than just like a conscious practical, like, this is what this is. It's called relentless optimism. And relentless optimism is not happy all the time, although if you can be happy all the time, bless you. But relentless optimism is about optimizing. It's a verb, about optimizing the situations that you're in. And it helps so much when you're in those left turns, and when you're into something new, when you're trying to make that transition, when you're you don't know what you want to do next. You've been a stay-at-home mom, and you had a job. Even if you were an entrepreneur before that, and now you're like, this doesn't fill me up anymore, and I need something new, and I don't know what I can do, and I feel like I can't do anything because now I've been in my sweatpants for 10 years, and there's all these pieces, right? But practicing relent every single day, and it's a practice with exercises and a way of living, you can, with without fear, optimize the situation. And it makes a very big difference in your day-to-day. And the reason why I couch this with neurodiversity especially is because life gets overwhelming. And that's really where procrastination hits, is that life gets overwhelming. And especially for someone who's neurodiverse or is fractionally thinking, you can get overwhelmed and you can get distracted by life. So having multiple different disciplines, having multiple different strategies, if one's not interesting that day, you can go to the next. They live as a unit together. They live in a circle, not in a straight line. I don't think in a straight line. I'm dyslexic. I go from 1 to 5 by going 1, 3.5, 2, 4.7, 5. And so often, if you're creative, I think at this point, quote unquote, normal is becoming the minority. Thinking normally is far less common. And the overwhelm creates the procrastination, which makes you feel, I'm going to curse, like shit. Makes you feel awful. And it stops you. Like, that's the stop. It's not like procrastination is not like I said in the beginning, it's a fear response. But the best way I know to tackle fear is by action, and is by having different ways of addressing the piece that are creating the fear. And I need more than one tool to do that. And that's why I created these 5 strategies, so that if I'm having a bad day and I'm feeling like I don't have any accountability, I have my tribe, and I have the 3 buckets in my tribe I know I can go to. If I feel like I'm not talking about this before, about the speakers that are after you finish Women Thrive Summit, it's such a high. It's such an amazing experience, but it's holding you accountable for an entire year, and then that disappears, and now you have to hold yourself accountable. It's not an easy thing. So continuing that by creating these pieces, by using these 5 strategies, makes a big difference. It really makes a big difference. And that's, for me, how I work with clients. And that is how I believe one can thrive and get in and pick up momentum. So you never feel like you're hitting that wall. And if you hit a wall for the day, there's always a new thing to do that will, within these strategies, that will create, that keeps the momentum going.
Yeah. And I think by just taking action, you get such amazing satisfaction from knowing that actually move the needle. I conquered it. So just conquer those fears.
Yeah.
Carole,
It's also not.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's also like the journey. I know it's a little bit cliche, but it really is about the journey. The getting to the place. If you got there and it was easy, you're very rarely as satisfied. Like, the journey to get there is what builds your confidence, but having the tools to get there helps the confidence grow.
Absolutely. Well, Carole, how do people connect with you if they wanted to reach out?
Oh, please. Yes. You can find me on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook at Carole Podell, on LinkedIn at Carole Podell. My website is carolepodell.com. I am a motivational speaker. I have my podcast, which you can go to YouTube at She Takes the Lead podcast. You can also link it to my website. So you can get me any possible way. And please, I love getting DMs and talking. I love going on. I have a weekly newsletter that kind of sends out what I'm working on, what the podcast is working on. And I also send out playlists because I think music is such a powerful tool. So,
well, it was through you that I've discovered John Batiste, and I'm like, I can't get enough of this guy.
My work here is done.
That's what I call bestie, where you can just call her up, you get your playlist, you're going to have a cup of coffee. Yeah, you're amazing, Carole. I hope that people do connect with you. And just have a conversation. Look, these things you don't have to do alone. Find your tribe, connect with the people that inspire you, and take action. There's no need for you to procrastinate or put something aside for tomorrow. Just dive right in, get your feet wet. Carole, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom on 5 keys to thrive. And we look forward to having you on another episode, hopefully.
Thank you. I'd love to come. I always love talking to you. You're my favorite.
Amazing. To all of our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have enjoyed, do make sure you share this episode with others. And we've got some other amazing guests lined up for other TV shows. So do make sure you check them out. It was a pleasure to